I still get asked quite a bit, like, what is the best way to level? So what I wanted to do is take all of the experience that I've gotten from my racing to 100. I did the pre-season. I got my name on the statue of Lilith there. And also in season 1, I got into the top 10 world hardcore barbarians for level 100. And put all of that together in a comprehensive leveling guide explaining also the differences between those of you who are starting fresh and those of you who are coming back to like level an alt character. And let's start with the characters that are coming in absolutely fresh. Now, the first thing you'll have to do is the campaign. And while you're working through the campaign, I want to recommend a couple of things here for you to keep an eye out for. The first are the Tree of Whispers bounties. Now, these are random objectives that are across the entire map. If you're ever in the vicinity of one of these, or if you notice that one of them is actually an objective you have to do for something else anyways, make sure you try and get around to that before it expires so that you can get the favor for doing so. And once you've gotten this bar to full, you can head over to the Tree of Whispers to hand it in for a significant boost of XP, as well as some pretty useful materials as well. As you're doing the campaign as well, my next recommendation is to try and get to level 3 renown in each zone as the campaign is taking you through. And the recommendations in priority of the things that I would get for the renown are statues of Lilith. Also, the waypoints, because these are going to save you so much time later on, so do make sure you get the waypoints. And then any dungeon that has an aspect that you need for your Codex of Power that is specific to your class. Now, I don't expect you to know where all of these are, so I'll put a resource in the description, d4builds.gg, their interactive map. Excellent resource for tracking all of this stuff. You can even filter by your class, so it will show you all of the dungeons that are particular to your class. And I'm not endorsed or anything like that. I just think it's a very good resource, and I wanted to share it with you guys. So make sure you're making good use of that. Now, once you've done all of this, you should be in and around the level of 48. If you're not, what I want you to do is go here to Uldia's Cave and level to 48, and then at that point, do the Capstone dungeon. For everybody else who's coming into this as a returning player and you've already either done the renown or don't need to do all of it, as long as you are level 3 renown in every zone, then at that point, that's when you come to Uldia's Cave, whether that's like level 20, level 1, whatever. This is when you come here and you level all the way to level 48 and then do your Capstone dungeon. Now, I want to quickly nip a question I know I'm going to get in the bud before you guys ask it, and that is, why am I not recommending strongholds? And it is for a couple of reasons. So the first one is that XP bonuses for killing monsters a higher level than you got heavily nerfed. So in strongholds, enemies are always 2 levels ahead of you, and in the past, this meant 20% bonus XP. This is not the case anymore. It's been nerfed down to 3% XP. So you've lost the primary incentive for doing it already. Secondly, the monsters are much tougher, and they don't actually very often drop gear. So you fall behind the power of the stronghold very aggressively, and you get to a point where the monsters are very slow to kill, or maybe are actually even killing you on a regular basis. And then when you add that to the fact that if you're a solo player, you need to actually log out of the game and log back in to reset a stronghold to do it again, it all just seems like way too much for the very small bonus that you're going to get for killing them. And when you compare that to a dungeon, first of all, you can actually go out of a dungeon and reset the dungeon with the UI element here and go straight back in without any logging out antics. The monsters are your level, so they're easier to kill, and they drop a ton of gear. And all of that for a 3% XP hit, it just doesn't make any sense to me, so that's why I'm recommending dungeons. Now, let's go back to, we've just finished the Capstone dungeon and we're unlocking World Tier 3. Now, for those of you who need to do Renown still, at this point, I want you to finish level 5 Renown in every single zone. And as for the priority of the objectives, you basically have to do nearly all of them. But I do again want to just reinforce the recommendation of try and hit up Whispers if they are in the zone and their objectives that you haven't already done, to double dip into that XP. It's very good for your XP per hour. And I also want to recommend picking up the side quests that you walk past. Now, I don't recommend doing all of the side quests, but a lot of them end up like taking you to dungeons that you're going to do anyways, or they're very simple, like deliver this to, this point, and there's not much else to it. So it's very easy renown. Don't skip those because, you end up having to do a lot of them anyways in order to max out your renown. And what you'll do is once you've done that, you'll then go into nightmare dungeons. And just quickly to circle back for those of you who don't need to do this, what I'd recommend doing is actually staying in Uldir's cave for just a couple of levels. Try and get a couple of sacred pieces of gear, get yourself to like level 50, 52 before moving into nightmare dungeons. But at this point, you should all be moving into nightmare dungeons and leveling all the way to level 68. When it comes to Hell Tides and world bosses, I would recommend maybe doing 1 or 2 Hell Tides. Not very many because they're a pretty big hit on your XP per hour. But if you happen to get a Hell Tide where there's a lot of bounties in it as well, this is a pretty good opportunity to jump in and get good value for the time you spend in there. And you get a lot of flasks, a lot of crafting materials, and of course a lot of gear while you're in there. And you'll need to do at least 1 Tree of Whispers bounty in order to get yourself a sigil from the cache. So if you haven't got one, that's how you get one. Moving forward then, we're going to go to level 68 through Nightmare Dungeons, and at that point, this is when I do the second Capstone Dungeon and unlock World Tier 4. And it's a bit of a rinse repeat here. We go back to Uldir's Cave at level 68. We don't go into a Nightmare Dungeon just yet, and we do a few of these to get ourselves to like level 70, 72 before moving back into Nightmare Dungeons. And if you're wondering, why 70 to 72, it just depends on a few things. Like, did I get good RNG? Am I hitting a couple of ancestral pieces? Maybe I need the extra Paragon points to unlock like a decent power spike. But it's ultimately when you feel comfortable moving into Nightmare Dungeons, because each time you step up a world tier, it is a significant step in difficulty too. And this is kind of the level range I've kind of averaged out at myself. But of course, I play hardcore, so maybe I'm a little bit conservative. You could go in a few levels earlier than that if you choose to. But just one thing to remember about leveling, it's not all about XP per kill. It's not about getting the most XP per enemy kill. It's about XP per hour. So in general, if you ever find that you're doing something and it's a slog, you're getting very slowed down by the enemy's toughness, you're pushing too far. You need to dial it back and then wait until your power level catches up with you. And a good sort of example of this is I actually stayed in Nightmare Dungeons that were my level all the way to like level 80, at which point, I do like 2, 3, 4 levels ahead of me and gradually increased it as I became more powerful. So by the time I was like level 91, 92, I was then at that point doing Nightmare Dungeons that are about 10 levels ahead of me, which is actually the cap. I've seen some leveling guides recommend like doing them like 20 levels above you. I don't know if this is common knowledge, but monster XP cap is 10 levels above you. After that, you gain no additional XP, none at all. So it's absolutely not worth doing. Do not push that high if you're leveling. 10 levels above you is the absolute cap, and it requires a particularly powerful character setup in order to push that efficiently. Only do it if it's the same as doing stuff your same level, right? Remember, speed is actually more important than the XP the monster's actually giving you when it comes to leveling. But that is it. That is my full leveling journey. This is the one that helps me win races at the beginning of every season. And I hope it's of use to someone. If you did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a like and consider subscribing. And if you're feeling really saucy, maybe come by and check out the live stream. Stream Diablo 4 every single day. And there will be links to all of my resources down in the description. Anyways, take care. Love you. Bye.